Okay, we are good to go on our end. Welcome to the J. Robinson Camps live webcast. Tonight's focus, we're doing something a little different. We wanted to talk to people about why now is the time to start planning for what we think would be a really productive camp experience this summer. My name is Sue, and I'm the brand manager for the J. Robinson Camp System. I'm just here to introduce everyone, and then you'll hear from the big guys. Just thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. It's really our hope that after hearing firsthand from our camp leadership team, that many of the questions that you have about wrestling camp will be answered. Tonight's webcast is actually the first in a planned series of webcasts designed to help parents and coaches and wrestlers learn more about the JROB camps. And we'd also, like to be a direct resource for any specific questions you have regarding wrestling camps. We're proud to say that J. Robinson camps are the #1 intensive camps in the country. And, well, why is that, a lot of people ask? Well, J. Robinson created the original intensive camp concept. And truly only our camp has the exceptionally high standards and training regimen set by 37 years of dedication to excellence. And really, this commitment to excellence has built an unmatched camp model that's specifically designed to drastically improve an athlete's physical and mental toughness. So, going to tonight, here is the deal. Tonight's webcast is divided up into 3 parts. We'll start off with our Director of Wrestling Operations, Ty Eustice. And what Ty will do is he'll provide a really helpful overview of kind of the key planning factors you need to think about when considering a summer wrestling camp. And then Ty will give a brief outline of the J. Robinson camp options. Then Ty turns things over to Jay Robinson. And Jay is, of course, the founder of J. Robinson Camps. And Jay will provide a rundown of what he has based the development of this camp model on. And then he'll give an overview of the intensive camp. And most importantly, he'll cover the topic everyone always asks is how to earn the I Did It shirt and the point system that determines how a camp athlete earns a shirt. And last but not least, Ty will round out the webcast with highlights of our technique and competition camp options. And then he talks about why we feel our registration process is really unique among all the camps out there and just our really amazing customer service team that we have in place. One thing we really want to make sure you know that this is a live online webcast, obviously. So there is online chat available throughout the entire webcast with our veteran staff and customer service personnel handling all of your questions. So what you need to do to submit a question is just click on the question mark icon on the left side of your screen and type in your question. The answer will appear as a pop-up on your screen. So you'll have to delete the box before you can view the full presentation screen. You can also interact with other webcast viewers by using the chat feature. Click on the quotation mark icon on the left side of your screen to use this feature. And really, most importantly, there will be time at the end of the webcast for a live Q&A chat with J. Robinson and Ty Eustice. And the webcast will be available on demand on our website, jrobsoncamps.com. If the broadcast freezes on your screen at any time, simply click on the refresh button on your browser. That will take you to the live broadcast, and you can rewind from there if you wish to view what you missed. Okay, we are getting there. So to lead in to introduce to Ty, we just want to talk about how really proud we are that so many dedicated wrestlers have chosen to train at J. Robinson Camps. We've got over 30,000 JROB grads, and their impressive accomplishments, both wrestling and life, are truly remarkable. Just last year alone, in 2014, JROB camp grads had 60 state champions from 29 states. And our 2005 camp grad, Tony Nelson, closed out his incredible collegiate career as a 4-time All-American and a 2-time NCAA champion. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Ty Eustice, who is our veteran Director of Operations. And Ty himself is an NCAA finalist. He's a 2-time NCAA All-American and a 4-time Minnesota High School State Champion. So we are proud to have him on our staff, and I will bear with me as I hand over a headset and get Ty going.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about planning for your summer camp. Now is definitely the time that you want to start planning for your summer. A good place to start is to really just determine what your wrestler needs heading into their summer training. What areas does he or she need to improve on in the off season? Is it some great questions that you need to answer? I'm going to give a few examples just to give you a little bit idea what we're talking about, a real world scenario. If your wrestler needs to learn about commitment and how to train at a high level, an intensive camp would be a really good choice. If your wrestler needs to learn more technical skills to go along with the basics, that's where maybe a technique camp would come in. If your wrestler is struggling to perform in competition or is over nervous for big matches, things like that, a team or a competition camp may be a really good choice. You'll hear me talk about it quite a bit tonight, but ask your coach for advice, ask your coach for input. Try to identify some areas that you're struggling or some things you need to work on or a certain style that you want to perfect, and a coach should be able to help you point you in the right direction. So after you've decided what type of camp you're interested in, make sure you look at all your options. Do some research into the camp details. You know, if you're looking at a school or a company, whatever you're looking at, really do some research online or calls, but look into their details. A few things to consider about certain camps. Look at reputation, look at what curriculum is being taught, look at their leadership, their staff credentials, staff supervision, staff ratio. All those things are really, really important. Along with that, athletic trainers, are athletic trainers on site? What is their cancellation and injury policy? And look at what accommodations and facilities are actually at the camp. Again, ask the coach. Your high school coach should be a very good resource for you when you're trying to get an idea of what camp options are out there and whether it would be a good fit for you. Speaking of the coaches, if you're going to go to camp and you need help figuring it all out, talk to teammates, talk to coaches. They should be a very good resource. A coach will be happy that you're going to camp, so he should be able to coordinate a group or talk to other people in the community that might be going and push you in the right direction, like I said. There are a lot of benefits to coming with a teammate or a group. The first benefit is just our group discount. We have a very good discount that starts at 4 or more kids from the same team. And if you have a bigger group than 4, make sure you call the office and talk to me if we need to work out a special discount for you. The group discount is not our only discount. We have an early registration and a paid in full discount. You need to act a little bit quickly on those. Those are going to end February 28th. The other one that a lot of people take advantage of is our military discount. You must have an active military parent to take advantage of our military discount. Almost half of the kids that came to camp last year took advantage of one or more of our discounts, and there are a few that you can combine. If you have any questions on that, make sure you call our office and talk to Kelly. And we do understand that it is a financial commitment to come to camp. You definitely need to start planning that now because it's a huge part of it to get ahead of the curve so you can get to the summer and start focusing on the wrestling. A little bit about fundraising. So a lot of people need help to start fundraising. We're going to give you a few ideas right now. The one place that I would start, and we're starting to hear more about this every single year, is start with your wrestling booster club. As programs are trying to improve and high school teams are trying to improve, booster clubs have started to step up and a lot of times pay for a portion of each kid's camp. Obviously, they're trying to encourage kids to improve over the summer, and this is one thing that we're really seeing recently is the booster clubs helping kids and families get to camp. People that want to improve, a lot of teams will try to help the kids get to camp. Don't be afraid to ask community or business leaders for help. People are usually very willing to help when kids are passionate and are working towards a goal. So don't be shy. I think people are more than happy to give. That's been our understanding is people are willing to give. Explain to them what you're looking at. You know, if you're coming to a JROB camp, bring a brochure to the community member or business owner. Explain to them why this camp's going to help you, and ask for a little bit of help. There's nothing wrong with that. And we've heard a lot of success from our campers that they're going out in their communities and trying to fundraise a little bit. Also, with technology changing, a lot of campers have begun to use the GoFundMe website as a place to raise part of their camp fees. Again, it's a little bit of an anonymous donation site where kids go in, set up an account, talk about why they would like some people to donate to them, and people can make anonymous donations. So that's the GoFundMe website if you want to do a little research on that. As far as the financial planning, and talking a little bit about your accounts and things like that, as far as it pertains to JROB, once you do register for camp, you can log back into your account at any time and pay towards your account balance in fixed increments, or if you need a little bit more of an individual payment plan or some individual help, make sure you call Kelly and talk to her in her office. She'll be able to help you with some more specific questions as it pertains to your account. So you can continue to pay off your account really whenever you want. The only thing, the balances must be paid 3 weeks before camp starts is where we cut off the line. Finally, a little on travel. Summer is an extremely busy time for everybody. Finalizing your camp plans now will help you plan for your coming summer. There's a lot of things to take into account. You have family vacations, and if your son or daughter is involved in other sports, those schedules can get pretty hectic too. So the earlier you set aside your camp dates, you can start to fill in your summer schedule around this really important camp dates. Also consider your travel to and from the camp location. Visit our travel information page on our website for help in getting to and from camp. We have a lot of valuable information on our website. Under the parent section, it's called travel information. It's a whole page dedicated to talking about how we can help you get to and from camp. We list our travel agency that a lot of people use to get to camp and book airlines and things like that. So we're now going to start covering the different camps that we offer. Jay and I are going to go into a little bit more detail in the coming slides, but we really do think that we have a camp for every single wrestler. So just a real quick overview before I turn it over to Jay. Our intensive camp model focuses on high-intensity physical and mental training. These are designed for 14 to 18-year-olds, and we have 10-day, 14-day, 28-day options. Each of these camps includes 4 to 5 hours of mat time per day. That's a lot of time spent on the mat day after day, and that's why we see the improvement that we do. Technique camps are 5 days long, and these are focusing on fundamentals and learning wrestling techniques and learning how to drill properly. These are for ages 8 to 18. Our competition camp began 2 years ago and has gotten more and more successful every year. That is for grades going into 7 through 12. During the 5 days, wrestlers will compete in an individual tournament. We group them by weight, obviously. They also have daily technique sessions and instruction from different staff on our competition fundamentals that we've identified. So a little about the founder of J. Robinson Camps, Mr. J. Robinson. He's currently in his 29th season leading the University of Minnesota wrestling program. He has won 3 NCAA team titles in that time and is already a National Wrestling Hall of Fame member. Jay was an Army Airborne Ranger as well as a 1972 U.S. Olympian before he entered coaching. I'll hand it over to Jay now and let Jay talk to you a little bit more in depth about his intensive training camp philosophy that he's developed over the last 37 years.
Thank you, Ty. In speaking, what we want to talk about a little bit is the philosophy, and our philosophy at camp is based upon what's called the J7. And over the course of time, we have identified 7 core values that we teach at camp and that we reinforce continually at camp. They're discipline, dedication, sacrifice, hard work, responsibility, accountability, and service. We have identified these things in this 37 years as skills that will help you not only become a better wrestler, but will stick with you in life and help you as you go through your entire life. We've had people comment that have come to camp 20 years ago how these skills have influenced their entire life. And we do this at camp by having the kids reinforced by doing these things in all situations. Discipline is the basis of everything, and camp is about discipline. Dedication, you learn dedication by staying the entire 10, 14, or 28 days. Sacrifice, you're going to have to give up things while you're at camp and before camp to make sure you graduate. Hard work, our simple thing is that you can outwork 90% of all Americans. You're responsible for yourself at camp, and you'll be held accountable. Things that aren't done a lot in life, in everyday life in high school. And the last one, 6 of these skills are about you. The 7th is service. And so we teach the young people how to deal with service and the impact that it'll have on their lives. The intensive camp daily schedule, if you look at it, it is very consistent, and it's consistent for a reason, is that the consistency is designed to reinforce everything that happens at camp, whether it is the J7, the discipline, the dedication, the hard work, or the accountability or responsibility. It's consistent so the campers know what's going on and what's to expect the next day. It's, as I said, designed to reinforce the J7. And so all the things that we do are done for a specific reason. Nothing at camp is done without a reason. There's running in the morning. Running helps build endurance, not only endurance, but focus. Running is just one small part of camp. As Ty said, there's more than 5 hours on the mat while you're at camp, learning technique. And it's designed that it, through the system and through the different places, is that the technique that gets shown at camp will get shown 3 different times. So it's not a thing where you'll be introduced in one move and that's it for the rest of camp. You'll be introduced in the morning. If you look and see what the technique session is, that day it will be reinforced during the hard wrestling practice when they have review, and the following night it will be reviewed again. So the technical part of learning the wrestling itself, you will get at least 3 times. The other part is the hard wrestling. That is designed to help you build your endurance and help the mental part of the game as far as learning to push yourself. In the evening, we have mental training. Part of it is visualization. Another part is we always have our camp staff speak on motivation, what motivated them, how they became good. And the idea is that if they can pick up one little piece from all these different staff people, they can then make it relate in their training. We're done at around 9:30, and then we have a lights out at 11 o'clock. The fundamentals of the camp, the basic fundamentals, whether it's technique training and practice, drilling, or live wrestling, those are consistent, again, over the course of years, in that we put them in wrestling and running groups based upon their ability. We have athletic training. We have trainers there that tape our kids, that do everything, take care of anything that we have as far as athletically needing a training during the camp. We monitor their weight and their skin checks on a daily basis to see where they are. We've designed a point system to allow, and I'll talk a little bit about that later when we get to the I Did It shirt. We help them develop their own personal philosophy, and which is very important. Is most people want to become leaders, but before you can become a leader, you have to know where you're going. So we do goal setting there, and then before you know where you can going, you have to know who you are. So that's a personal philosophy. And then on daily seminars, I will speak to them on leadership, how to overcome adversity, hard work, mental toughness. We have even something that is on money management and a lot of different things as we go through camp. We have a lot of highlights at camp, and there's a lot of things that go on. And the reason that we talk about these highlights is that they're meant to where camp isn't just one boring thing day after day after day. There's different things put throughout camp so that there's things to look forward to, and for the campers, right, to be able to challenge themselves in different ways. A red flag day is like a pop quiz. It's a very short practice that makes kids really push themselves mentally and physically. We have black hat winners. These are awarded at the end. The most outstanding kid in every group will be picked based upon the J7 and what he brings to the camp as a whole and to his groups. We have a Navy SEAL challenge where Navy SEALs come in, where they do the Navy SEAL challenge. The object of this is not for them to be recruited by the Navy, but the object is a challenge for them to learn to challenge themselves in something they're not sure that they can do. At the very end of every camp, we have a 9, 12, or 15-mile run that we call the grind. Right? And the idea of this is it's kind of like a final. The object is to get out there and run a course that they haven't run before, with the idea is to stay in it both mental and physically. I spoke a little bit about the personal philosophy development. Every kid will design his own philosophy about who he wants to come. He will design what he wants to do as far as goal setting over the course of the next 10 years. And then we have daily seminars to where we talk about different things that are going on. The first 2 or 3 days, they're pretty much overwhelmed, so we give them skills how to deal with stress and how to get through a day. Later on, when they become bored, we give them skills on how they deal with that. So we work through that, and then we culminate it all with a graduation. And so all these highlights, there's always something to look forward to while you're at camp. One of the other things that happens is when they come, and one of the sayings is they come as boys and they become men. And the reason is that we have a very structured and a very accountable environment. And the reason for that is it helps people realizing that they're going to be accountable for what they do. We have a lot of rules, and as a result of rules, one of the first things we talk about is there are consequences here. And the reason there are consequences, kids come to camp, they don't have what they want, and what they need to do is change. So when we do this structure, when we have these rules and this consequence, there's results, right? And the consequences will help them change what they want to do and move in the direction of what we want them to do. Our idea is to get them to change and to make change a very important part of their life instead of fearing it, to embrace it and do better. The last thing here is we're talking about is why JROB Intensive Camp. Ty said it before, and it was said is that we're the original intensive camp. I started this whole intensive camp idea 37 years ago. There's a lot of people that have tapped into an intensive camp. Their idea as an intensive camp is taking and throwing intensive on it, working out 4 times a day. Our intensive camp is a lot different. And I say a lot different. It is in 37 years we have perfected our training model. We have found the things that work, and we have discarded the things that don't work. So we have a very efficient system to move young campers from point A to point B in a very short period of time. We've also found that in order to help them develop as an athlete, if we can help them develop as a person, that runs into their athletic life. Those 7 skills of discipline, dedication, sacrifice, hard work, responsibility, accountability, and service will make them great wrestlers, okay, because of all the things that it brings to the table. But more than that, it will spill into their other life. It'll spill into school, relationships, and all those things. In order to do this, we need to have a ratio, and we need to keep it so that we have attention no matter how big our camp gets, whether we have 100 campers or whether we have 300 campers, the ratio never changes. And so we have a 10-to-1. That's very important to get out what we want. Safety at camp, because we train very hard, is our #1 priority. We have, at the 28-day camp, we have 7 or 8 full-time trainers that deal with every problem conceivably that comes up in a training situation with young athletes. The staff, our individual staff, everybody is certified in CPR. Right? We weigh in the kids every day because we want to know where they are and where their hydration levels are as we push them through some of the strenuous stuff that we do. So we're continually monitoring every day. Our dedicated staff of camp counselors are dedicated to helping kids grow and become better wrestlers and better people. And we do that by the individual attention they get and the attention to detail that we do in everything that we do. It's very important for us to take care and do the small things, right? Most of the staff are active Minnesota wrestlers, and what they do is they actually, before they come to camp, all the freshmen go through a mandatory 2-day training period of what we do, why we do it, how to react in different situations. So it's not like most camps that just throw staff in there and then they go at it. So our wrestlers and our staff is a lot different. The intensive and competitive wrestling and conditioning focuses on the mental challenge. You want to get kids to a different mental state, and in order to do that, we use the physical discipline of pushing them beyond what they think they can do. And then when they get to that level, we push them a little bit farther. Excuse me. So there's a lot of reason why a J. Robinson Intensive Camp is different than most other camps. One of the last things is what we call the legendary I Did It shirt. Okay, what is an I Did It shirt? an I Did It shirt is basically a badge of accomplishment. It means that at the end of camp, the camper has hit the standard that we require as excellence. This standard hasn't changed in 37 years, and that's the beauty of it. We've had different levels of kids graduating, but the standard stays the same. It makes it a very significant thing for kids to earn, because unlike a lot of things, it's earned, it's never given. And basically, the point system is everybody starts with 1,000 points. The point system was basically taken from Army Ranger School, where everybody starts with 1,000 points. You have to have 700 points to graduate. And during the camp, the majority of points that are taken away, the majority of points are in control of the wrestlers. And so a lot of the wrestlers, okay, make or break what they do and whether they graduate based upon their responsibility and their accountability at camp. So there's a lot of things with the I Did It shirt. It's a meaning thing. It's been around from our first camp. When you go to camp, they come in the camp store. You'll see 37 shirts there, one for every year that we've been there, and there's a ton of people that have earned them. So it's a very significant thing, and as I said, it's a badge of accomplishment. It's like anything that you get, it tells you what you've done and how important it is. Right? So that's a lot about what the camp is about. I'm going to throw this back to Ty now, and he's going to cover some other things.
Hi, so we'll move on to the technique camps. Another huge part of our summer, a little bit designed for a different challenge and a different type of kid that might need something a little bit different than the intensive camp. Like I said before, the technique camps are 5 days long. We focus more on the wrestling fundamentals and advanced techniques. We try to cover kind of every area. That's a very common question we get, is what's covered. We really have a lot of time on the mat to cover a lot of things, so we're getting into takedowns, reversals, pinning, riding, escapes, some strategy, but really it's working on the technical skill development and how to be a good practice partner and how to get the most out of workouts. They are on the mat 3 different times every single day. So again, we have a lot of time with the kids. They're getting a lot of one-on-one with them and their partner. A little bit about our staff. We have regional staff, and we bring in national staff as well. There is All-Americans, national champs. There's some high school coaches that are highly accomplished, and we assemble our staffs, and they're there on site all 5 days. We will bring in headliners a couple of the days to really show some specific things. Get some role models in there for the kids that they might know who they are and really look up to. The small group is really important. We try to break kids up based on their skill level and their age. The weight kind of works itself out, but we really want to pull those younger kids aside and assign a coach to them, and really keep our eye out for the kids that need a little bit more help. We do, very similar to our intensive camps, we do have daily seminars on the life skills. We think that's really, really important across all of our J. Robinson camps, not just the intensive camps. So we will cover a lot of those life skill things, especially the goal setting and the leadership components that we feel so strongly about. Our technique camp schedule usually changes a little bit from year to year. We try to get to the metropolitan areas to make it easier for our customers to come and go from camp. So this year we have made a couple changes. We are right now in Atlanta this year in Georgia, which has been a very good change for us. We really anticipate a very good camp there this summer because it is right in the heart of Atlanta. We did add a new camp this year. We did make it to the state of Texas. We're at Dallas Christian College, right in Dallas, Texas. We're very excited to go there, and that is a commuter-only camp. There won't be dorms available for kids to stay in. We anticipate a lot of kids coming from that Dallas area commuting in every single day. Our Minnesota Technique Camp is very, very popular here at the University of Minnesota. That goes on at the same time as our 28-day camp. We use the same facilities, and that is a really popular technique camp of ours. What we started to do 2 years ago when we introduced the competition camp is we introduced what's called the combo camp. And basically what that is, kids can come for 2 separate 5-day camps. First, they come to the competition camp, July 5 through 9. There's a couple days in between where they can go home, or they can stay on campus and stay in their same dorm room. When that is up, then the technique camp starts on July 12th. So the combo camp is, again, growing every single year because it's kind of a neat deal where a person can get a 10-day camp, but it's broken up into 2 5-day segments, and it's really a neat deal that I think we're all really excited about. So part of that combo camp is the competition camp, which is the last thing that I'll talk about. It is kind of we're the only people that are doing something like this. There's a lot of team camps out there where you have to go with your whole team and compete in dual meets. This is completely different and one of a kind. This is an individual tournament format, so it doesn't matter if you come by yourself or if you can come with 5 or 6, 7 buddies, but we're going to break you up by your weight and we're going to put you in individual tournament bracket. So during the 5 days, you're going to get 8 matches in a bracket style format like I mentioned. Along with that, we're doing multiple technique sessions every single day, and then we are having instructional time on the lessons listed here. Basically, we call them Jay's 4 principles of competition: preparation, performance, evaluation, and adjustments. And I touched on it earlier, but in each of these things, in wrestling, we talk about these things. At this camp, we actually show kids how to do it. And I think that's what's really setting this camp apart. And every year we see more and more kids come back. We see past intensive campers come because they see this tournament going on and they see the things that we're teaching these kids. And we're not just talking about it, we're showing them how to develop their own warm-up plan, how to evaluate their matches. We show them how to watch tape on themselves. And most importantly, they're learning how to make adjustments while they're actually competing. So competition camp is a great option for a lot of people. Please look into it. Again, the combo camp continues to grow. We're combining those 2 5-day camps, and they basically just run together. You do have the option of staying in the dorms during those 2 days in between the 2 camps. Lastly, just want to talk about our customer service because it is very important to you guys, the customer. We do have a full-time customer service manager, Kelly. She's available normal business hours here for phone calls and emails. We have a 24-hour response time to all inquiries, and that's not just during the summer. That's all year. During the summer, we're going to get back to you. The ongoing communication and pre-camp instructions, I think, are really, really important. This isn't just a seasonal job for us here. This is our everyday jobs. We're here every day to help and answer questions that you might have. The registration tool, again, every year we try to improve our registration tool. We want to make it easy on the customer to get registered and to get the information that they need. Part of that is our payment options that I already talked a little bit about before. We do have installments. There are individual payment plans. If you have questions or if you have specific needs or concerns, please call us. There's nothing that we haven't heard. If you have questions, please call. If you have wrestling questions, I was on the phone today for 45 minutes with 2 different parents, just going through the camps, explaining things into language that they could understand. And finally, it's just a good reminder, final fees for camp are due 3 weeks prior to the camp starting. So if you plan now, you're going to have a lot of time to make payments and to make those scheduling plans that are so important to your summer. So that is the end of our presentation as we have it. What's going to happen now, while we've been talking, a lot of you have been submitting questions. You can continue to do so, but basically me and Jay are just going to look at our questions that we have assembled here from you guys. We're going to go through a few of the major ones, and we'll kind of hand the microphone back and forth, and we're going to answer some of your questions that you've all been asking. Thank you.
Thanks, Ty. Excuse me. One of the main questions we all get is that, why do you run so much at camp? And people talk about the running part of it is that it has nothing to do with wrestling, but here again, based upon these 37 years, the thing that we found about running is, and one of our campers said it best, is he said, I found out at camp that running doesn't have so much to do with my legs as it does with my head. Learning to run hard, right, is a way to help teach these young campers what focus is. There's no way easy. Hypothetically, if you run a 5-minute mile, you have to be focused on it and you have to be into it the entire time. So running is just part of what we do. It's only one part in the morning. As Ty has said, we have 5 hours of mat time that we're on the mat, so there's plenty of mat time, but it's also part of it is a cross training to help them learn to focus. And there's really nothing better than that, because when you're doing something that's very hard, it requires you to be focused. And that's one of the reasons and the greatest benefit. The other thing is the endurance part of it is you build endurance, and you get better at that as you continually do it. Another question they ask many times, why the difference in length? Why do you have a 10, a 14, or a 28-day camp? And the reason is the thing that we found over time is that one of the most important things in order to get the benefit of where it stays, right, is the essence of time. You have to have enough time, right, to, in essence, push the lessons that you're learning deep inside them so that they don't go away. What happens with all kinds of other intensive camps, they got 4 days, 5 days, 7 days. Why do they have that time? They really don't even know why they have that time, other than they don't want to do it in the order or the idea of the way that we do it. Is that when you have a 10-day camp, you start on Thursday, you have to go to Sunday before you see the end. And that makes them be able to focus and drive those things deep inside them. What kind of shape do I need to be in before I go to camp? Is that they need to be in good physical shape, because what they're going to do is that it's going to start and they're going to hit the ground running. Now, here again, having done this for 37 years, one of the things that we do is that the first 2 or 3 days, in order to help them get there, we spend a lot of time on the mat instead of on our feet. Right? We do it for a couple of reasons. We do it because it's better for them. Right? It's not as hard on their body the first 2 or 3 days. The second thing is that as they go through and they wrestle down on the mat, it allows them, right, and their bodies time to adapt to those first 2 or 3 days. So we do things different at camp for different reasons. Right? Here, I'll turn this over to Ty.
So we have a question about preparing for the technique camp. I think the biggest thing if you were preparing a younger kid, 10 years old is what the question has listed here, is just get them in the wrestling room, maybe a couple times a day for a few days straight. I really, there really isn't at that age a conditioning question. There's not a concern about being in shape for technique camp. I think the biggest thing, though, is just getting their bodies used to drilling that much every single day. The other thing as far as preparation is sit down and talk to your child about why they're going, what they should be trying to get out of it, and also just giving them a few rules that they need to follow while they're there. Just reiterate respecting the other kids at camp, showing respect for the staff, but just talk about the goals of why they're going to camp, what you hope they get out of it as a parent. But a few workouts, getting their wrestling shoes on a couple days in a row should be all they need to get their bodies ready for a technique camp. Good question, though. Do you offer a summary of moves and techniques taught at camp? At camp, the kids have the ability to take some notes, and that's what I would recommend to them is before they come to camp, bring a booklet. We also give them a workbook at the technique camps as well, and there is an area in there for them to take notes. It would be a lot more powerful if they're writing the notes themselves as opposed to us giving them a book that's typed up. They're gonna write down really important things that made an impact on them. So that's what my recommendation would be, is have them come to camp with the plan of recording as much as they can, but mental notes as well, physical notes as far as on paper or the workbook that we do provide. We've also started to do some technique videos as a company. We're releasing those every other week, I think, on Wednesdays. So please check our Facebook page. We got some technique videos up, and there's a lot of good resources now on the internet as far as technique goes.
Jay, again, this is a great question, probably one of the greatest questions that people ask, and you hear a lot, and it says, the problem with going to camp is you're going to get in great shape, and then you're going to go home and you're not going to do anything. And that could be no farther from the truth than there is because what happens is that when you go to camp, right? What you do is kind of like stretching a rubber band, is that things that will happen at camp, you will stretch and you will go to a different place as a wrestler. And when you go back home, that stuff is not going to leave you. That's based upon our 10, 14, or 28 days, is that we want it to be inside of it, and we want them, right, to carry this with them for a long time. Right? If you want to look at it just from the sheer point of results, if you can go on our website, we had an independent group come and do an evaluation of what we do, how we do it, and why we do it, and you can read the results of what's happened and the long-term effects of what happens at camp. The thing about camp in the summer is we can push kids that you can't get during a high school season. You have competition, you have cutting weight, you have school, you have family, you have jobs. In the summer, there's nothing but wrestling, and so we can get them to move to a different place by that standard, by expanding them way beyond what they presently do. Another question is, why do we have a point system? A point system is very, very important because it allows us to grade the ability of what they do and what they're supposed to do. It holds them accountable for things while they're at camp. They do a goal setting exercise. They do a personal development exercise, and it holds them accountable and makes sure that those things get done. So a point system is very important in us making sure that they grow and they do the things that they're supposed to. Remember, one of the J7 is accountability. They're responsible for doing their work at camp, but they're held accountable, and that's what the point system does. Another thing is, another question here, which we get asked a lot, is why is your camp cost more than other intensive camps? The reason it does is for the services that we provide. Ty talked a lot about customer service. We have customer service. We have 7, 8 full-time trainers when you come to camp, right? We tape the kids. We do everything as professional as you possibly can that no other camp does. And so when we make our cost per camper, we look at the overall effect of what our camp does. If you really look at it and make sure in your answer, it comes out to around $100 a day. When you look at it from that perspective, it puts things into perspective of the availability and the affordability of camp in what you're getting, right? Another question is, should a camper who has never been start with a 10-day camp? Not necessarily. The biggest thing about coming to camp is the camper has to decide about where he wants to be, where he's located too. A 10-day camp, you can come in and there's a lot of benefits that you get out of it. But it's like anything in life. Is it a 14-day camp or a 28-day camp? What you're going to do is you're going to get those fundamentals and you're going to get longer to practice them, and they're going to go deeper inside of you. So if you're a little unsure, you can start with a 10-day camp if you want to, but a 14 or 28-day camp, it really decides on what you want to do. You can make it. Most people can make it. One of the first things that I tell kids when they come to camp is, I'm going to be here with you every day, right? And so if you listen to what I tell you to do and do what I tell you to do, you can make it through. So that makes a big difference in what camp you want to go to, is the dedication that you're gonna make, right? Why do people choose the 15 miles instead of the 12? All of camp is basically is that we give you options, and what we want kids to do is to learn to try and do more than less. You only have to run a 9-mile one, right? And we call it, and we've kind of changed the name of it. We're going to call it the grind because it's the last thing that they do. But it's based upon the idea of excellence, in that everybody's has to do 9 miles, right? Do you want to do 12 or do you want to be 15? What we want to do is get the camper to choose the most, all right, on his own. We could force him to run 15 miles, but he doesn't learn anything by that. we want to give them the option. And actually, and then we give them skills in how to do it and how to look at it and how they go about it. So a lot of everything that we do here goes back to the camper. It falls on the camper, right, for him to choose what he wants to do. So when he leaves camp, he doesn't listen for people to tell him what to do. He on his own picks, right, the highest thing as he's striving for excellence.
Okay, folks, back here with Sue. It is 7:48 here in Minnesota, and I think we are wrapping it up here. So certainly if there's a couple more questions, send them on through, but really we have an outstanding customer service team, and Ty Eustice gets back to coaches and wrestlers and people individually. I can't say enough about how impressive our dedication to each individual coach and parent is. So please feel free to call or email. Go on our website, jrobinsoncamps.com, with any questions. And again, if for some reason you know of someone who might be interested in this webcast, it is going to be available online for free. And this is the first of a series of webcasts that we're going to have leading up to camp that really try to address, the questions and concerns and just things that people wonder about wrestling camps. So again, thank you so much, and give us a holler if there's anything we didn't cover here tonight.